All right. I guess we'll just start off with the first question and get this done. Well, heck, I'm gonna have to log back into the computer because it shut off. Wish I had Wi-Fi. Oh well, here we go. All right. Well, I guess the first question we'll just start off. When were you born?
1937.
Let's see here. And where were you born?
Surrey County.
Where did you mostly grow up at?
Davie County.
And could you tell me the story? What was the first bone you broke? You broke. What was the first bone? And can you tell me the story behind it?
My collarbone.
Oh, that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and tell them that.
My mama had sent me to graze the cow. And I walked up the road and I was laying on the bank of the road, letting the cow graze on some new ryegrass that had been sowed, the state had sowed.
Mm-hmm.
And Pete Elmore come down the road in a big old international truck.
Mm-hmm.
And I was laying there about half asleep because I was used to hearing that old truck run because I was right there close to home. And he turned the switch off and cut it back on, and it backfired real loud, and the cow took out through the back of patch and drug me out through there.
Mm.
And it finally stopped out there, dragging me, and I knew I was hurt, but I didn't know how bad. But anyway, I brought the cow back home, a calf, it was a calf,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't a big old rig cow. But anyway, when I got back home, I didn't tell my mama nothing about it, and the next day I was walking up the road, and I'd been helping this guy because I wasn't about 9 years old, and I'd been helping this guy taking a mule, dragging some logs across the creek for him down there, and she thought I had an arm wedge in my pocket. She said, if you don't get that arm wedge out of your pocket, you're going to be humpbacked. You're going to really be humpbacked. And she told who I'd be humpbacked out of, but I don't remember who it was. And I told her I wasn't. I told her then, I said, I got something wrong with my shoulder. Well, she got looking at it and she said, you're going to have to go to a doctor. Well, this was on a weekend. And she took me down to Knoxville. And our doctor at that time was Dr. Long.
Mm-hmm.
And he was out of town, and she took me out to Dr. Hardin's house. But he put me in a cast from my waist up, and I couldn't hardly move or nothing. And it was itching under it and everything else. And my daddy come home, and I was crying, I reckon, with it. I don't remember. I know it wasn't comfortable at all.
Mm-hmm.
And my shoulder, he had big old wad under my armpit, and then he had me in that old hard cast and I couldn't move. He took his knife and cut that thing off of me. And he brought me to Knoxville on Sunday. And Dr. Long was back. And so of course he throwed off on the other doctor too, at that time. And he put it in just a small cast, where it was comfortable. And I wore that then till it got better, but that's the way I broke my arm with the cow then, and that was the first bone I broke.
Mm. And let's see, what's the next one? How'd you make money when you were younger, mostly?
Well, I handed up tobacco when we was on the farm, so we moved to Knoxville. I'd work in the back patch, but anyway, you didn't get much money that way, but when we moved to Knoxville, I knowed how to garden, and I knowed how to rake, and I knowed how to hoe and dig and mow or whatever. And the people in Knoxville just loved me because I could do all that, trim trees, trim bushes, anything. And then Mr. Will Smith run a service station down there, and he wanted me to work up there for him and answer the phone and put in gas and stuff. And he paid me good, and then I had a bunch of yards to mow and around, and I just had an old push mower, one that no motor at all. Well, they come up with one of the stores in Knoxville had a real type mower sitting on the street, and it was about $100 that thing was back then. And well, I told my daddy what I needed. I needed that lawnmower, and he said, well, let's walk up there. So he told the man, he said, you let this boy have that lawnmower, and he said he's going to pay you for it, and he said, if you don't, I'll pay you for it. And they, of course, they knowed each other back then. The man told me to take it all home. Well, I took it all home, and it wasn't, that summer I had it paid for, and I had money in my pocket. And then Mr. Hefner, he moved to Knoxville, and put in a grocery store. That was a store, a building that's there beside of Martin lawyer office. That big building there, I think there's been 3 or 4 belts, and I don't know who and all has been in that store, but he was the first that went in, was Hefner's grocery store was, and it was a big hit. And I worked for him for 3 or 4 years after school, and on the Saturday, because the grocery store back in wasn't open on Sunday.
Yeah.
And but anyway, there was no trouble to make money as a kid coming up back then and go to school, because your lessons wasn't smeared before you done your lessons when you got home, and then you went on to work, and then you come back every day. It was pretty simple back then. Not like it is now at all. No. But that's the first way I made money back then.
What was your first car, and how'd you get it?
My first car was a 36 Ford Coupe, and my brother gave it to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I kept it a few years. Of course, it wore out. It was about wore out when I got it, and then I got married when I was 18, and then I went to work at Haynes Furniture at Knoxville, and I was making $36 working 5 days and a half, and so that was pretty good money. And so I bought me a car then. I think it was about a 50 model Ford. But I kept it for several years and wore it out, and I think I bought another one of them. I'd buy a cheap car, but I'd keep them old flathead motor cars, and that's about all you could afford back then. And of course, the light bills wasn't but $5 in, and of course, we didn't have no bathroom back then, and no televisions or nothing. But anyway, it was a good time.
I guarantee you.
Better times than it is now.
I can guarantee you that. And when did you have your first actual car crash or car wreck?
That was before that. I was in a car wreck, and with another boy, and we were showing out and turned one over. We were going to Boone's Cave of fishing, and he was driving, and we had a dog in the car with us. And actually, he'd stole the neighbor's dog, because it barked all the time.
Oh, Lord.
And he wanted to get rid of the dog, and of course, I guess that's the reason we turned the car over down in a back of barn. And it didn't hurt none of us, but anyway, we were showing out, or he was on a dirt road back in. That's where all young boys did, back in, clean the ditches out. But anyway, we wrecked it, but I've never really I've had bump ups, but I've never had a real bad wreck.
Well, that's good. And you're actually telling me this earlier today. I guess you're just going to have to say it again. What was the first deer you killed, and how did it happen?
Well, the first deer I killed, the first one I ever killed, was a little old spike buck, and I was in Caldwell County with my uncle, and his neighbor was a real old colored guy that lived on the land that he had got from the railroad when he was he worked for the railroad, and they laid him off this much land up in the mountain there, and he had a little old fast dog, and he told me he's gonna turn that dog out at 9 o'clock, and told us where to be. He said they'll run a deer. He said won't run nothing but one with horns on it. Well, I couldn't hardly believe that dog wouldn't run nothing but one with horn, but he was right, because I walked out path and I sat down out there that morning about 9 o'clock, and I heard that little dog barking, and that deer come over the hill, and it was running straight towards me, and I got it pulled and I shot it, and it slid right up to me.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. That's the first one I'd ever killed.
Mm-hmm. And let's see here. I guess you can tell us about what rabbit hunt do you remember the best with your dogs?
Well, I raised me and my wife. That was in '64.
Mm-hmm.
We had a Basset female dog, and she loved to run a rabbit, but she was real slow, and I was trying to figure out how to slow beagles down. So I bred her to a beagle, and she actually had 5 puppies, but one of them was born dead, and I kept the 4. And they would run with her when they was about 2 or 3 months old. They would run with her, that's pretty you ever seen. And I'd run them around here, and then finally they got to outrunning her, and then she just lost interest because she couldn't keep up.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they was a little faster than her when they got a year old, you know. And I kept them till they was 3 years old, and I broke them to where they'd bring you a cripple rabbit. If you cripple one, they'd bring it. They wouldn't kill the rabbit, but they'd bring it to you. But every one of them would jump a rabbit, and every one of them would bring you a rabbit. And you didn't. If you shot one going down through the woods, you didn't have to worry about the rabbit. They'd bring it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then one night, the deer got around, and they left to run a deer, but they would. I done switched them for that. They would not run if I was with them. But my wife was up here one night, and I was out to working at Reynolds, and she thought they was wanting to get out, and if I was home, and I could take them, and they wouldn't run a deer, but there happened to be deer out in this field out here where the lot was, and when she turned them loose, and 3 of them got killed one night, and I had 5. There was 5 of them, is the way it was, instead of 4, and because she had 6, and one of them died. But anyway, I just had, when I come in from work, I just seen 2 dogs, and I knew there's something wrong, because when you didn't see the law, there was something wasn't right. But then the patrolman called me the next morning and said he got run over here in the highway. He said he had my collar, and I didn't even go get the collar, but I quit rabbit hunting right then.
Mm. And I guess this is the last question. What's one thing that you did in school that you just remember the most? Like a funny prank or something.
Oh, me. That was nothing.
This is a long time ago, I understand that.
Yeah, but I've done several pranks, and some of them I wasn't proud of.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you one, I really ought to be proud of it, because this guy's dead now. But anyway, he wouldn't care if I told it. When we was in, I believe about the 6th grade, 7th grade. Yeah, I'll say 7th grade, because it was the mayor of Knoxville. Well, his wife was a school teacher, and a good one too. And anyway, I'd make faces, and I could turn my eyebrows wrong side out and make faces. This boy, he'd get tickled, and I got him tickled one day, and she come in and she told Jim, his name was Jim Bower. She said, Jim, I want you to quit that laughing. And I looked back at him right quick every way, and I'd get him laughing. He couldn't quit laughing. And she told me, she said, brother, I mowed her yard and all this too for her. But anyway, She said, I want you to go get me a switcher and bring it up here. We was upstairs in the old schoolhouse at Smocksville. So smarty, I went down there and cut the right of way around the power line, and I picked up about a 12-foot long old wild cherry bush, and I come dragging it in that room, and I didn't even get to her desk, and the rest of it was in the door. She didn't say a word to me. She just broke the top out of it and wore him out. But he never did quit laughing. he couldn't quit laughing. And she ought to be with the other end of it, but she didn't. But anyway, I've done things like that. But that's what I really remember there too. But I've done others I don't want to tell about.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's basically it. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Everything.
Yeah.
I guess we'll finish it right there. Let me go ahead and cut this thing off. Oh, Lord.